Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the stillness beneath your breath. That quiet space, the one where no effort lives, that's where your true shift took place. You may believe you are changing, evolving, becoming, but the truth is, you've already become. You've already stepped into the identity of the one who lives in overflow. What you perceive as change is simply time unfolding the evidence of a decision you've already made in consciousness. You don't earn this new reality. You accept it, you assume it, and from the moment you accept it, overflows your identity, not your goal, not your hope, but your now. Reality was forced to reflect it. The old you, it never needed to be fixed. It only needed to be dropped. And you did. That self, that version, exists only in memory. It no longer generates outcomes. It no longer fuels the script. The moment you accepted a new concept of yourself, the one who receives, the one who lives in divine abundance, you made the ultimate shift. Look around you. The change you're noticing is not you climbing a ladder. It's your world reassembling around the new vibration you occupy. You are not climbing into overflow. You are being the one who has it. You no longer have to try to believe. That phase is over. Now you expect, you know. You assume with ease. And as you walk through your day, you carry the calm confidence of someone who doesn't chase anything because everything is already assigned to them. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. Overflow is no longer an outcome, it's a reflection. You shifted into it the moment you said yes within. The evidence may appear gradually, but make no mistake, the change was instant. The world bends slowly around decisions made in eternity. So breathe, stop striving, stop evaluating whether you're doing enough. You're not in process, you're in possession. You're not waiting, you're walking. And everything that belongs to the new you is already moving toward you, not because of effort, but because of identity. In the unseen world of consciousness, identity is not something you work toward. It is something you claim. You don't gradually become something through effort or time. You become it in the very moment you assume it to be true. The shift doesn't require action, it requires acceptance. When you assume the identity of the version of you who lives in overflow, you don't wait for evidence, you become the evidence. This isn't about pretending or faking. It's about aligning with the truth that reality is always following your inner world. What you accept as real in imagination becomes law to your experience. Most people are waiting for outer signs to confirm they've become something, wealthier, healthier, more powerful, more successful. But in truth, the outer world is always the last to know. What you see is a shadow of a decision made internally. So when you adopt a new identity, your world must and will rearrange itself to reflect it. But that rearrangement takes time to appear. Not because it's slow, but because you live in a world governed by appearance and delay. What's real is already done. This is why assumption is so powerful. It bypasses logic. It doesn't need to argue with your past or wrestle with current conditions. It doesn't need permission from your senses or approval from your history. It simply accepts, this is who I am now. And once you accept it, once you feel yourself to be this new version, everything begins to move in harmony with that identity. Doors open, people respond differently, ideas flow, resources come, but all of that is just the echo. The real shift already happened the moment you said yes in your heart. Overflow is not something you chase, it is something you recognize as yours. You don't become worthy of it. You don't graduate into it. You identify with it. You wear it like a second skin, not because you've proven anything, but because your spirit is already it. You're not trying to have overflow. You're being the one who does. And this isn't about blind belief or delusion. It's about awareness, deep, still, inner knowing. You don't have to fight for overflow when you've accepted that it's your natural state. You don't have to manifest it, you just stop arguing against it. You step into the reality where it's normal, not miraculous. It becomes ordinary for you to receive, to attract, to be supported. Not because you're striving, but because you're aligned. Here's the truth. The only thing that ever needed to change was your self-concept. Once you see yourself as the one who already is, already has, already lives in abundance, the world must respond accordingly. It has no choice. What the world calls change is simply the slow motion ripple of an inner decision. So ask yourself right now, who are you being? What are you assuming to be true about you? Because the moment you shift the assumption, the moment you truly claim the new identity, not just say it but feel it, everything begins to conform. You're not here to fix the old story, you're here to write a new one from the state of already being it. Remember, you don't become your desire over time, you become it in consciousness. And then time introduces it into your experience. You don't need more proof. You don't need more waiting. The moment you assume the identity, you carry the energy of completion, and when you walk through life from that state, full, secure, settled, the world has no choice but to match it. Manifestation is not a journey. It is not a long, drawn-out process full of effort, struggle, or delay. It is a shift in consciousness, a moment of inner agreement so complete, so final, that the outer world begins to mirror it without resistance. It's not about hoping it will happen, it's about knowing that it already has. You do not wait for overflow. You enter the version of yourself who already lives in it. This is the true secret behind all transformation. Not time, not repetition, not external effort, but the acceptance of a new reality as done within you. It happens in an instant. One moment you are longing, trying, and seeking, and in the next you drop all striving and assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That shift is where the magic lives, not in the conditions around you, but in the moment you believe differently about who you are and what is yours. You don't manifest overflow because you chase it. You manifest it because you recognize that you've already stepped into the reality where it exists. This is not imagination in the sense of daydreaming. It is imagination as a creative act, a conscious decision to feel something so vividly, so deeply, so confidently, that it becomes more real to you than what your eyes see. And when that happens, when your inner world becomes more compelling than the outer world, the shift occurs. The outer world doesn't bring overflow to you, it reveals it to you after you have accepted it internally. The moment you say it is done, not as a statement of hope, but as a calm conclusion, the moment you feel the end result as now, you have moved into a new version of reality. Your senses may not yet register the change, but the deeper part of you already knows it's done. And from that moment forward, life begins to reflect it, often subtly, then unmistakably. Circumstances rearrange, people show up, opportunities align. But they are not the cause of your shift, they are the effect of it. You are not in the process of becoming abundant. You are living from the place where you already are. This difference is everything. You don't have to wait to see proof before you believe. You believe and then you see. You don't water seeds and dig them up every day to check for roots. You trust the process. Likewise, once you have accepted something is done in consciousness, you no longer question it. You walk as if, you talk as if, you move as if, because as far as you're concerned, it's already yours. When you live from this state, nothing feels forced. There is no fear, there is no striving, there is only alignment, peace, confidence, calm knowing. You're not reaching anymore, you're receiving. You don't need to make things happen, You need only to become the one for whom they naturally happen. And that becoming isn't gradual, it's instant, once the inner agreement is made. So the question is never how long will it take? The real question is, can I accept right now that it is already done? Because the moment you do, the moment you fully accept that you are already living in the answered state, overflow begins to show up, not because you earned it, but because you've aligned with it. You have stepped into a new timeline, a new script, a new vibration. The old story is over, the shift has occurred. Overflow is not arriving, it has arrived with you. And now everything around you will catch up to the truth you've already claimed within. So walk with the peace of one who knows, because once you've accepted it as done, you've already won. What you call transformation is not something that begins from the outside. It is not born from effort, force, or willpower. It starts in a much quieter place, within you. What seems like a change in your external world is simply the reflection, the aftershock of a decision you've already made in your inner world. It may appear like your life is gradually getting better, that circumstances are finally aligning, that opportunities are starting to unfold. But in truth, those outer signs are not causing the change, they are confirming it. The moment you accepted a new state of being, when you truly inwardly believe that you are abundant, worthy, chosen, favored, that's when the shift occurred. Everything that comes afterward is simply the echo of that inner acceptance playing out across the screen of your reality. Your world does not lead you, it follows you. It doesn't tell you who you are, it shows you who you have already decided to be. It reflects your self-concept, your assumptions, your deepest feelings of truth. So when you begin to notice the outer world changing, people responding differently, money flowing in, peace increasing, things going your way, don't be surprised. You're not in the process of changing, you've already changed. What you are seeing now is the ripple effect of that shift. Just like a seed germinates underground before breaking through the soil, your consciousness goes ahead of you and lays the foundation for what's to come. You may not have seen it right away, but it was already done the moment you felt it to be real within. This is why patience isn't about waiting endlessly. True patience is the knowing that your world is catching up to what you've already accepted as yours. It's faith in motion. It's trust that the unseen is more real than the seen, because the unseen is where all creation begins. You don't need to keep wondering if it's working. You don't need to check for signs every 5 minutes. Your only job is to remain loyal to your inner state, to continue walking, speaking, and choosing from the awareness that is already yours. What most people call change is simply the outer world rearranging itself to mirror a new frequency you've started to live from. It's not that you're becoming someone new. You're simply no longer living as who you used to be. And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to fix the outside. You don't have to manipulate outcomes or hustle for results. You change within, and the outer has no choice but to comply. Think of your reality as a mirror. If you smile, the reflection smiles back. But the reflection doesn't smile first, you do. In the same way, the outer world can only show you what you've already assumed to be true on the inside. This is why inner acceptance is everything. The world cannot give you what you have not yet accepted. But the moment you do, the moment you say yes in your spirit, yes in your imagination, yes in your identity, the world begins its process of rearrangement. It's not magic. It's law. So let your life catch up. There is no need to chase what's already yours. No need to panic or push. You're not in transition. You've already arrived. What's unfolding now is the evidence of a new story that has already begun. The pieces are falling into place. The shifts are manifesting in form. You don't have to become it. You only need to accept that you already are. Because once the inner agreement is made, the outer must obey. Let the world reflect the truth you've already claimed. Watch the visible bow to the invisible, because what you feel to be true will be made true. You are not battling the old version of yourself. You are not fighting to overcome it, to fix it, or to destroy it. You're simply no longer feeding it with your attention. And in this universe, what you no longer give attention to must dissolve. Not with effort, but with neglect. What you used to call change isn't actually the result of struggle. It's the quiet unfolding of a simple decision. I no longer identify with that version of me. The old self, the one who struggled, doubted, worried, feared, settled, begged, has no power where you are now. That version is not being suppressed, it's being starved. You're no longer feeding it your belief. You're no longer keeping it alive with your thoughts, your habits, your story. The only thing the old self ever needed to stay active was your agreement, your yes to the narrative that you're not enough, that you need to prove yourself, that things take time, that you're behind. But the moment you withdrew that agreement, the moment you chose to see yourself through new eyes, the old identity collapsed. It didn't go quietly, perhaps. You might still feel echoes of that version from time to time. Old thoughts, old emotions, old habits. But those are not signs that it's still alive. They're just memory traces, energetic leftovers. You don't have to fight them. Just don't re-identify with them. You are not the thinker of those thoughts anymore. You are the observer who chooses whether to energize them or not. And now, you've chosen not to. You've chosen presence, wholeness, confidence, overflow. There is no need to explain the old self anymore. No need to analyze why it acted a certain way, or relive its traumas, or recount its failures. That version of you operated from a different level of consciousness, one that no longer fits the identity you now live in. This isn't denial. This is freedom. You don't have to heal the old self. You just have to stop being it. When you walk into a new room, you leave the last one behind. You don't have to burn it down, you just exit it. You don't owe it anything. And your transformation works the same way. You're not trying to perfect the past. You've simply stepped into a higher frequency where that version can't exist. In this new state, there's no longer any resonance with limitation. You no longer recognize yourself in lack, in fear, in doubt. That identity feels foreign now, like a story someone else lived. And if that old self tries to whisper through old patterns, old people, old circumstances, let it. But you don't have to answer. You've moved on. That voice no longer has authority in your life. Every moment you remain identified with the new version of yourself, the powerful one, the abundant one, the one who knows, you deepen the collapse of the old. There's nothing to fix, nothing to rescue, nothing to carry with you. You're not the wounded version hoping to become whole. You're the whole version who remembers their true nature, and from that place, you don't resist the past, you outgrow it. So when you look around and see your world shifting, when overflow begins to replace struggle, when peace replaces panic, when confidence replaces confusion, understand that you are not becoming someone new. You are no longer energizing someone old. The transformation you feel is not hard work, it's released weight. It's lightness. It's freedom from the roles you no longer play. The old you has no access here, no control, no influence, because you're no longer feeding it. You're no longer listening. You're no longer saying yes. You've chosen a new self, a higher self, a truer self. And from this moment forward, that's all that matters. let the old version fade. It has no power here, because you've remembered who you really are. There comes a moment when what once felt impossible becomes your new normal, not through force, not through years of effort, but through a shift in identity. Overflow isn't something you chase anymore. It's something you expect. It's not special, it's standard. Not extraordinary, but inevitable. This is the essence of living from your higher self. When you step into the version of you who knows they are favored, abundant and supported, overflow becomes a natural outpouring of who you are. Not something to be earned, not something to beg for. Just an automatic result of being in alignment with your true nature. The old self tried, it pushed, it worked, it reached, it hoped. It looked at overflow as a miracle, something rare and maybe even undeserved. But your new self, the one you have stepped into now, it doesn't chase outcomes, it assumes them. Not arrogantly, but peacefully, calmly, confidently. Because when you finally recognize your true identity, you stop needing proof. You stop needing signs. You stop needing validation from the outside world that you're worthy. Overflow doesn't impress you anymore, it simply makes sense. You no longer see blessings as coincidences. You see them as a reflection of who you've accepted yourself to be. And that's the power of identity. It redefines what you experience as normal. The moment you stop viewing overflow as something separate from you, something you're trying to reach, and instead begin to embody the version of you who lives in it every single day, your world bends to meet that belief. You don't manifest overflow by striving for it. You manifest it by no longer questioning whether it's yours. You stop declaring, "I hope I receive," and start living from the quiet knowing of, "This is how life works for me now." It's not that life suddenly became easier. It's that you stopped identifying with struggle. It's not that overflow finally came. It's that you finally saw yourself as the kind of person who already has it. This shift is subtle, but it changes everything. You begin to wake up each day not with anxiety, but with assurance. You make decisions not from fear of lack, but from a deep sense of supply. You walk through your day with ease, trusting that all things are aligning because that's just what happens now. Your old patterns of overthinking, controlling, and doubting begin to fade. Why? Because your new identity has no use for them. The one who lives in overflow has nothing to prove. She has nothing to force. She simply is. And from that state of being, the most incredible things unfold. Naturally, people show up. Opportunities land in your lap. Money flows without resistance. But you're no longer surprised. You're aligned. This is not about pretending. This is about becoming. Becoming so familiar with abundance, with ease, with overflow, that anything less than that begins to feel unnatural. What once felt like a miracle now feels obvious, because you're no longer trying to get it. Overflow isn't an event, it's an atmosphere. And you carry it with you now, not because you forced it into your life, but because you chose the self who lives in it. The new identity didn't have to work for it. It simply had to accept it. What if I told you the moment you saw it clearly in your mind, the moment you felt it as real within you, it was already done? Not in the distant future, not someday, but right then and there. In the invisible realm of consciousness, your imagination had already sealed the outcome. We've been conditioned to believe that reality responds only to action, that change must come from sweat, from strategy, from physical force. But the deeper truth is this: everything begins in imagination. And not idle imagination, but the kind that accepts its vision as fact before the senses confirm it. You don't need proof to know that your inner world is real. You've already experienced it. You've felt the emotions. You've walked the scene in your mind. You've lived the moment inwardly, with clarity, with presence, with feeling. And that experience, though invisible to the outside world, is more powerful than anything physical. Because that moment wasn't just a fantasy, it was creation. The instant you imagined and believed, truly believed, your inner reality took root in the unseen. And from that moment on, the outer world began to rearrange itself around that internal structure. Your reality started shifting, not because you forced it, but because your consciousness commanded it. The world doesn't shape you, your imagination shapes the world. Everything you're currently experiencing is a reflection of a former belief, a former image, a former inner acceptance. So when you see things beginning to move, when doors open, when people shift, when money flows, understand these are echoes. They're confirmations of a decision already made within. It may feel like you're progressing slowly, but that's only because you're watching the unfolding. The real shift already happened. The results are just catching up to the cause. Your imagination is not weak. It is not abstract. It is the blueprint of your reality. And once you held that image, once you claimed it as real and refused to argue with your senses, the outcome became inevitable. And nothing can unseal it except doubt, not doubt in the world, but doubt in yourself. That's the only thing that delays the expression of what is already yours. But when you stay loyal to your inner vision, when you live from it rather than merely looking at it, your life cannot help but transform. Because life always obeys imagination when it's backed by belief. This is not daydreaming. This is deliberate creation. This is the sacred act of becoming. The you who imagined the outcome is the same you who will live it. Not someday, but soon. And what determines how soon is not luck or time. It's alignment. It's your willingness to stop wavering and simply rest in the knowing that your imagination has already done the work. You don't need to strive anymore. You don't need to beg, chase, or overthink. You don't even need to repeat the vision constantly. You simply need to remain anchored in the state of already having. You already imagined it. You already accepted it. You already felt it is done. That was the moment everything turned. So now your only task is to trust the unfolding, to move through your day as the person who already has it, to speak as if it's here, to give thanks not for what's coming, but for what's already sealed in eternity, waiting to express itself in time. Let others work hard to force outcomes. You know better now. Your world doesn't change because of effort. It changes because your inner image has shifted. And the shift is permanent when you stop doubting it. You imagined it, you believed it, and now it's only a matter of time before the scene you saw in your heart becomes the life you walk in your world. So now you see, you're not becoming something new, you've already become. You're not chasing overflow, you've already shifted into the self that lives in it. There's nothing more to earn, prove, or strive for. The old you has fallen away. The new you doesn't wait. It walks in fullness, in peace, in certainty. Everything you once hoped for is already on its way. Not because of effort, but because you've aligned with the truth. It is done. Your world is not catching up to your wishes. It's catching up to your identity. You are now living from the end, from the state of already having, from the energy of already being. And from this place, miracles are no longer rare, they're normal. Let this be the day you stop questioning, stop chasing, stop doubting. Stand firm in the truth. You've already shifted into overflow.